Oh boy, it happened again. Sorry, everybody. It's just I'm still in my office studio. I haven't got the regular place done yet. So sorry about that. It's just if I don't click this one thing, all of a sudden it just doesn't come on. And so I see you guys all there, but it just doesn't come on. So I've got it. There's no way of me getting onto there. So hopefully, once I get my studio together, it's all gonna be good. But here we are at hopefully you guys find me. Please read, please read the chat area, and you'll see that I'm here at the other thing, at the other one. So, all right. So, welcome everybody. David R. Becker here, and yeah, I. Oh boy, I always I better let's toast right away. So, craft beer today is the Harpoon. Again, Timmy from North Hampshire, who's at Dartmouth. He sent me this Harpoon, and it's called the Winter Warmer. So we gotta have that right away. Sorry. Okay. Wow, that's really good. Anyways, so put that there. Hope you find it. Hope everybody finds it over here from the old one. If they go to my, if ever it's a problem, just go to YouTube on my channel. Hopefully, hope that doesn't happen again. Just boy, these computers. Anyways, happy holidays, everybody, and we're gonna be doing this painting today, and hopefully you're getting some gifts together. Doing some paintings for gifts. So if you if you go to my website and you want to find some really cool gifts, let me see. We got this right here. We've got BeckerArt, but I put on a daily painting every day, and so this is the daily painting today that I had putting out there, and you can get those at a really affordable price for your gifts if you like to. And but today we're going to be painting this scene right here, and so let me just get started right away. And so what we're going to be doing is I've taken this scene, and there's kind of like almost two center of interest in this one. And so I want to do some textures, and I want to do some fun things on this one. And basically the door is going to be your center of interest, and the clothing right now is the kind of the center of interest. But I kind of want to make that, push that back a little bit and make the door more interesting and more important. So the door is going to be probably red, bright red. And I'm not going to go with this green. I'm going to go with a little bit more of a probably turquoise with a red. So green and red are going to be my complements. And I'm not going to do the contrast so much with the clothing. I'm going to push that down a little bit, and so that they are not quite as contrasty. And also, one thing I want to explain to you is that when you're doing these shadows, let me just point a pointer here. When you're doing these shadows right here, don't do them and don't draw them in. Don't draw shadows in, because you're going to get a hard edge line, and so you can just make up the shadows as you go along, because you don't know what kind of color this is going to be. And then if you have to go into a specific line, it's not good to have a drawing of shadows. Even on the door, I don't draw the shadow in. So just keep away from drawing your shadows in there. And so let's see. Let's go to our supply list real quick for anybody who's new, and hopefully people will find me from the other one. I'm really sorry about that. Boy, it's just amazing how this is totally screwing up. If I don't click one thing, all of a sudden it just goes, it will not go on. I'll have to figure that out, how to get rid of that. And so here's my supplies for anybody who's new. And you can just put that there for a little bit so that you can see that. And so let's just go right to the tabletop and start painting here. And so with the painting, you can see I drew it up, and I actually did the Kneaded rubber eraser thing already. I'm going to do it again a little bit. I see that's a little bit dark here. So I take the Kneaded rubber eraser and I roll over it, because if there's too much, and I don't want the lines really dark, so that especially if the clothes can be a little bit lighter. If you cover up the lines, then it's okay with the dark, but I just kind of take it over the roller or rolling pin, Kneaded rubber eraser, so you just kind of knead it. And then you can also dab a little bit if there's a spot that's too dark and there's too much shine. And then I put it underneath just to kind of tilt it up a little bit so you don't get any bad looking reflections. I'm kind of getting my studio together in my studio. I'm going to do a little video thing. I just got the Wi-Fi in there, so not Wi-Fi, but the internet I've got in there. And so it'll be much, hopefully faster, and everything is going to be good. And so starting up with this, we're going to start with our lights like we always do. Now there's not a big long background in this one. So when the background is basically only 3 feet or 4 feet away from the foreground, that's so then you start thinking, how am I going to do the lights and darks? And so you do the lights first, and basically the door frame and the window frames are white, but I'm going to put a little bit of color in there just to kind of give it a little bit of a gray. So I'm just going to take my round brush. I'm just going to go in here real quickly and just give a little bit of a dirty bluish gray. So I'm dipping into Horizon Blue and a little bit of this gray. I think it's Davy's Gray, it's called. And so I'm just going to go in there, and that's my light. I'm just going to put on a little bit on the doorway, or on the frames of the windows, because that, I don't want to just be solid white like in the picture. I want to have a little bit, where it's a little bit dirty. And this is actually a picture from Burano in Italy. And they color the buildings with these beautiful colors. And I know this is a green. I don't like that color green. And the reason that pole is there is because this is like Venice. It's kind of like Venice, but with buildings that are very colorful. And it's actually not too far away from Venice, this Burano Island. It's a little island in Italy. Burano, and there's Murano where they blow the glass, but this one's Burano. I have a story that when I went, I lost all the photos on my camera when I was there. I had to run around the whole island one more time before I got back, and so a lot of my shots were all ruined when I did something on my camera. I'm not sure what it was, but toast everybody. Cheers again. Let's hope that people find their way over here. Boy, it's really, I had to eliminate that one, so people are probably wondering what the heck's going on with that. Because if I don't eliminate it, it doesn't shut off. Like I can't get to it, and so they're probably over there wondering what the heck happened. Anyways, so I just did a little bit of a. It looks dark right now, but it'll dry light, and it just gives it a little bit of color. Now I'm going to go right into the building. In the building, I'm going to make a turquoise, kind of a turquoise, not green so much as the green like it is. I'm going to go more with a turquoise, bluey turquoise color, and kind of Caribbean almost looking. And so that's a little bit too blue. And I'm going to make it, it's my light, so I'm going to go around some of the clothing because I'm going to make it light and not as dark as some of those clothes. I mean, there's a lot of dark clothes hanging up there, but I'm going to go in here with a little bit lighter color than you think that it is. And it's a green. And again, do not draw in the shadows of your wall and stuff from the thing, because you're going to put that in later, and it's not good to have those lines in there anyways. So I'm doing it kind of in a turquoise color. I know it's weird to have a building turquoise, but in Burano, that's the way the colors are. They do them really colorful. Some are red, some are yellow, and so it's a really bright colored buildings. I'm keeping it more of a turquoise, and I don't have a turquoise color per se. I use Horizon Blue and this composed green, and I used to call it compost. Everybody knows that. And so some of these greens and turquoise I'm going to kind of put into some of the clothing. If it's white, you can put a little bit of that in there. Go around this little thing here in the door. And I can always put a second wash on it too. Somebody on the other thing had asked about paper, and hopefully she comes back, and I noticed that they're not back yet. But somebody had asked about paper and how if it gets old and stuff, and it does. Paper does get old if it sits around in a damp area, like in a basement or something, and it kind of and if it's old, some of the sizing kind of goes away, and so the paper can get really bad. I did also put a plant in this corner right here in front of the door, and so I put that there. I can put a little bit of a gray in there too, into this green. So it's a little bit dirtier and darker, and that's too green. I don't want to make it too green. I want to just make it turquoise more. I'm putting a plant in there, and it's going to be, I think, a light plant, and so I can go around that. Use a little peacock in there too, a little composed green. I also put a few bricks down in here. And so what I'm going to do there is I'm going to, a lot of times in Venice and in Burano, they have like, because of how old it is, there's a lot of like the front of the building kind of is collapsing and not collapsing, but deteriorating. And you can see the brickwork inside underneath the facade of the building. And so I'm just doing that a little bit, doing a little bit of that in there. Now this pole is light in my picture, so I'm just going to paint around it. And that's one of those poles that they have in front of this is the water, and so that kind of is you kind of know it is Burano because of that. And this one I put lines in it, even though that's just a solid one. So I put a little bit of light red. It's called light red. It's a kind of a turquoise, not turquoise, but a what is it? A brick kind of red. I can't think of the name of that right now. So if you have questions, I do have you guys up there. So if you want to ask a question, I will answer it. And hopefully I'll see some more people coming back from the other one. Boy, that's just drives me nuts. And I was all prepared too. And I think it's this one button. If I don't hit this one button, I can't get in. And so, all right, so there's my light background. And if I want, I could put some of the values in right now, the shadowing, if I wanted some of them soft. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to put a couple of them in there that are just, so what I do is I'm going to do it a little bit darker. So I'm taking some darker blues and then put a little bit of the green in there. And because I'm going to use the same colors basically, but just darken it. And then put some of the, while it's wet, I'm going to put in some of the shadow now. And then I'll do some harder edge ones later. This right now is still a little wet. So I'm going to put a little bit of that in there right now. And you can look at the picture, like, and kind of follow that, but just look at what you drew on top, and then just follow how big and how small something is. It's like you're just copying what's above it again with a dark shadow. And actually, some of this dried already, so. And here we have two pant legs, and there's not up there, but I decided to put that in there just to make it different. Because all those things that are hanging there look all pretty much the same, and so I'm just giving it a little bit of a difference. And also there can be things from above, like that maybe there's some little, from above that has a little bit of some reflection of something that's up there. Here, this pipe already. And I bent this pipe around again because it's right on the edge, and I didn't put it right on the edge, as you noticed. In the photo right here, see how it's like the pipe is right along the edge. So what I'm going to do is I brought it in a little bit, and then I bent it too, so it turns so it doesn't lay on the edge there. And I may not have gotten dark enough with this first wash, but that's okay, because then that's the light part of the shadows. And then I'm just going to really quickly do some of the shadows from other things, like the door, the side of the door. And maybe I do this a little bit down a little bit farther than it is, just so that, and that's actually the terracotta is what I was thinking of before, the terracotta look. And this little pipe right there. Get this is still floating, so I'm going to put a little bit more color in there. Hey Maura, hey Everett, hey Suze. Thanks for finding me. Hey Tina, thanks for finding it, boy. I got a feeling there was a lot of other people waiting, and so I got a feeling they didn't find it. Oh well. They're gonna be screaming tomorrow, like, where did you go? Unbelievable. And I also put it on Facebook. I should probably take it down off of Facebook so that they don't go to that one. Actually, that's what I'm gonna do real quickly, if you don't mind for a second. Let me just copy this thing real quickly. Hold on one second. I'm gonna paste it in my Facebook. Sorry. Let me just take a few seconds here. I gotta wait for it to dry anyway. So there's actually some of this running. So let me just go to my Facebook page. delete this one. Sorry about this. Let me just put this on there real quick. All right, back again. All right, so just to let those people know, feel bad that I'm always putting up there and then I'm not up there. All right, so now the sidewalk, we're going to do the sidewalk, and that's kind of a grayish color. And I'm going to stick with kind of the bluish, but I'm going to keep some of it white a little bit. And there can also be people maybe over here, something over here that's casting shadows across it a little bit. And so I'm going to cross it quickly and give it a little texture also. And now as you notice that the light, the very light I put in there at first, it starts looking really light again because of the darker color I put for the background. Now the windows, they're going to be kind of a terracotta also, but I'm going to make the door red. Decided I'm going to do a turquoise, and actually on my screen, depending on what your screen colors are, a lot of times my screen that I'm looking at is kind of more of a light blue. This is more of a green blue, and the real part of the of the um, of the painting, the color. So don't, use your own colors. You don't have to follow the colors I'm using. A lot of times, because you can see it may not be exactly what I'm using when whatever your monitors or your phone or whatever you're watching can determine what the colors are. So it's not exact to what I'm painting a lot of times because it is whatever you're seeing on your phone or tablet or whatever you're watching. So now I'm going to go in here with a nice bright red, sort of a terracotta, but I'm sticking with a bright red. And you notice I didn't have the shadows in there. Um, I didn't draw the shadows on because, again, drawing shadows is not a good thing because then you have to go around it and it doesn't give you the freshness and freeness of it. So I always tell my students not to draw in the shadow parts. You can make those up and they won't matter if they're not exact. All right, so that's more of a red. I'll put a little bit of terracotta in there. And I can throw in the shadows also soft edged or hard edged, depending. I'm going to put some of it soft up here, and then I'll come back later, do the side with the hard edge. So always soft edge first while it's wet. So, and again, I have a towel that I laid down on my table, and I just like having it there so I don't have to use a sponge or and I wash them, and they come out fine. So now we're going to get kind of a reddish brown, a little bit of purple here, and a little bit of yellow for the windows themselves, because the windows themselves I wanted to start with a little brighter color. And why would I use a round brush when you're using a rectangle? Use a rectangle brush when you're doing rectangles, and the window is a rectangle, so just use the rectangle brush, a flat. So I'm just going in here. I don't want to make it as red as the door, so it doesn't. So this stands out. I want the center of interest to be the door first, and then the clothing, and it's just that in the photo, I think the clothing is more important, and I don't know. I don't think that should be the most important thing. I think it should be the doorway, and that just happens to be the secondary interest. Here I'm going in with the window. It's kind of open, and I could go right through here, the center, because there's gonna be a dark in there, so I could do that. Put a little yellow in this. It's a little bit more of an orangey color, like wood, kind of like a woodish thing here. And negative painting around the windowsill, and the window frame, I mean. And so, again, for anybody who just came in, if there's somebody just came in, oh, I gotta go back to my thing to see if anybody have any questions. Raise the paper. I'm in the scene. I'm looking at my thing, and I'm totally in there. All right, so those are the windows, and let me see here. Okay, any questions? Everett asked, "What's the purpose of the painting? I mean, why did I paint this, or why am I doing this scene?" Because it's just a scene I thought was pretty cool. So now I'm gonna go in, and I think I have all my lights, and so time to do all my darks. And so I got most. I think I got most of my lights. Actually, some of the light clothing. Let's go there because that's the next biggest part. So I'm gonna get the lighter clothing, and so I am gonna kind of do a couple of them, like the color of the door, just so that I have that color elsewhere. And I'll make it from light to dark, and I'll keep some white in there. Maybe that's gonna blend into that one next to it, which maybe is just a white, but because it's so close, it's gonna reflect some of that. And then we're gonna get, how about like maybe a blue shirt? Could be a little bit darker, or whatever that is, piece of clothing. And keep on going with the blue, maybe for the blue jeans. Maybe that's just blue jeans hanging there. Down this way with the blue. And it is my darks now. I'm getting into my darks. And then you can also do some that are not so colorful. Now that one is probably as dark as I want to get, because I don't, again, like I don't want it as dark as the photo, because the photo I'm seeing those clothes way too well. Like I see them before I see everything else, and so I don't want that to happen. I want you to see the door first. And here, a little yellow. Bring that in. And I kind of try to draw things together. I don't try to do piece by piece, because if you do piece by piece, then you don't get like this red, it will reflect into that a little bit. This orange will reflect, or yellow will reflect into that red. This blue will reflect into this white right over here. So I'll put a little white in there. Maybe this is a white shirt. And then we'll do another dark. And you kind of figure out compositionally and composing a picture. Like these, you want to odd number for one, and then you want it to be not so straight across. Variety is the spice, right? So just make things variety. Give a variety to things so they are not the same all the way across. And then later on, when it's dry, I'll even put like maybe stripes on one of them and just make it a little bit different here and there. Put a little bit of color into that. You notice how loose I've got with this. I'm not, I don't want this to be like so perfect like the photo. The photo is already, it looks fine, but I want to make it look like a really fun painting. And so even look at, you get these little watermarks right here. And, it's not the shape of this thing, but hey, it's a watercolor, so it's kind of fun to have stuff like that happen. Now I'm gonna go in and get my darks, because I think that's all I have left is my darks. So I'll put in shadows and such. And so I don't know. Let's start on this window right here, since it's right there. And actually, let's work from left to right, so that way I don't put my hand over it. And so here I'll just start with this pipe right here. I'm gonna put this pipe in. So it's gonna bring it straight down. Oh boy, that's a crooked pipe, huh? So we're going down here. All right. Sorry again to anybody who's here from the other one. It just screwed up again, and I have no idea why. It's just one of those things with the technology. Could be one button that I'm pressing wrong or something. So I'm turning it sideways so I can, it's easier for me to do a cross like this than up and down. Up and down, making a line up and down is not natural for a person. You know, it's like you're writing. So if you're writing you across, it's a little bit easier to do it that way. Now this is standing out too much, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the blue and go over it and float some blue in there. So it reflects the blue from the wall into the pipe. Because that's just way too contrasty and it looks way too important. It'll go away in a little bit when I do the other darks. Here I'll put a little shadow. And so now, let's get back to that window. And so first I'll do is I'll put the shadow that's right on the edge here. Hey Joyce, thanks for picking up in the beginning later. Yeah, sorry again. I just noticed you just came in. It was one of those things. So here we're going into the inside, and that's going to be dark. And again, maybe I'll go sideways with my hand. Hopefully you can see this. And again, this is a flat brush because I'm doing a rectangle shape. I don't do rectangle shapes with a round brush because it's not a good thing to do. And actually I'm going to leave a little bit of white and I'll make it look like there's a window behind, way in a distance. I love doing that. When inside a window you can see another window. And that's just a little trick. A lot of times it may not be in your photo, but I always notice that if you just do something like that, it just gives it a little bit more dimension, like you're seeing through. And just a little trick. Do the same thing over here, just do dark though, and here's no window in between there. The side is dark. And I'm using the red I had before, and then just adding something to make it dark. You can add black to it, you can add purple to it, whatever you like. And then once I do put it down, I float other colors in there. You know, just you can, here I'm gonna do it in the door. Now let's just, wait, let's do this one first here. On the side. And that one almost is too, so I'm going to mess this one up a little bit because it's up in the distance. I don't want it too contrasty with sharp edges. So I'm going to soften the edges a little bit on both of these just so that I don't want to see up there. I want to see here. So I want to keep all the hard edges down here. So now let's just do the shadowing from the door. And it's not going to be the darkest dark yet. Actually, let's use my bigger flat brush, the half-inch flat brush, which makes a great Christmas present for anybody who wants to get a Christmas present. They're on my website, BeckerArt.net or davidartbecker.com. Just put a little plug in there. So let me see, how many people do we have coming here today? Oh, we got. I think everybody's back. Hopefully, everybody's back. Well, again, if anybody who's not, it didn't say who they're here. You can ask a question if you like, and I will answer it. I answered the question from the others. Somebody had answered a question on the part that I had for the whole week up there that I didn't use now. Oh, it just bugs the heck out of me. And but they had to ask about paper. So if you're here and you got it over to this part, I had answered that yes, paper does go bad, and the sizing kind of goes bad if it's kept in like a damp area, and if it's old and it rubs, and yeah, it can go bad. And don't ever buy used paper unless you can try a piece of it or so. So there's my shadowing, and it looks like this whole door right here is in shadow. So I'm going to use the same color here. Put this whole shutter on this window. Just make it darker. And let me show you how a lot of times these things you can put other colors in there, float other colors in there. So I like to put in the eve of things, I like to put like pure orange. So I like to put pure orange on top of that. Just gives it a kind of a glow up there. And on the side here you can put a little glow. You also do this bluish turquoise color. You can take a little bit of that color and put it into the shadow because it will reflect in there. I mean, it just gives it a kind of a nice look, very natural look that it reflects into the area. You don't have to do it the whole thing. You just do it while it's wet and you just kind of brush it into the water and then just let it float in. You see this one? Let me just show you close up. So see how I put a little bit of that green, bluish tint into the shadow. It just gives it that kind of like little realistic look because that happens. I mean, it happens in nature. The reflection of, especially red. If I have a red shirt on and I'm painting, a lot of times I see that. I remember a couple of videos I did where I was wearing a red shirt, and it actually shows in the paper. It actually reflects from the camera, and it goes right on my paper. I saw it, and so it happens. It reflects. Everything reflects around. So that's getting darker and darker. And now I'm going to do a couple bricks in here. I'm just going to take these and I'm just going to, like you can see through. I know it's not in the picture, but again, it's one of those things that you do as a watercolorist. You've done it before, so you know that it looks kind of cool. So anytime you do something that you've done before and you know it looks kind of neat, remember it and maybe you can put it into other paintings. I always like doing a little brickwork, you know, and this is again Burano. And they keep their buildings a little bit nicer than Venice. It looks like they're in better shape than those in Venice. But here and there, you can see the wall kind of because of all the water, a lot of times flooding in the areas. And so now we're going to do a little bit of the darker darks, the really heavy darks, like the blacks and such. So I'm going to go right into black, maybe a little dark purple, and just give things a little crispness, Christmas to them. That's right. So cheers, everybody. Cheers. So today we have a harpoon from New Hampshire. It's a winter warmer, holiday ale, cinnamon and nutmeg. Cool. Cheers. Whoa, what is that? Boy, you can taste the cinnamon. Really good. Tastes like Christmas. Or do it crispness. Let me put a little dark underneath. See how I'm putting it really dark? These are the darks now. These are the ones that create objects. They make things. They're making, here the pipes, the side of the pipes. I'm just doing the side of the pipes. Here I can go inside the building and I can just put a little bit of dark in there, and this creates the shape of the door while the shutter. And then it also gives you more of a detailed look of whatever this is. Like in here is a little darker, so it's detail. Here and there is dark. These are windows inside there. I gotta wait till that dries before I do that. So let's go up to the top here. Let's do our clothes. So now the clothes, I'm gonna do the line. I mean, we're at detail stage anyway, so we're gonna just go in here and just do a little line across my rigger brush. And then little clothespins here and there. All right. Now this pole here, what I'm going to do there is I'm going to show you the wet and the wet, how to make a tree or a pole or anything that's rounded. What you can do is you can wet it. Just wet it with the side of your brush. I'm just wetting it all the way down with just clean water. And then I take a little bit of a gray, or it's not, maybe the background color here a little bit because it's going to reflect into there. And then just kind of go down it and just, it's already wet, so it's just going to bleed over this way. It's going to bleed this way. And it'll start looking rounded. You know, it looks like rounded because this side, the light, I decided it was coming from this way. So everything that I shadow goes on that side of whatever it is. So I'm going to leave that alone just for a second. I am going to put these little red stripes on it. Maybe not, but I think it'll be kind of nice to have at the door and have that in there too. That'd be cool. What was I going to do here? Oh, I was going to do the terracotta planter, which I put a planter in with a little, you can do the same thing. Is what you can do is I wet this area first, and then the one side I can make a little bit darker, and so just take your darker color and just leave it right here, and it'll bleed automatically. It'll bleed, because it's all wet, it'll bleed this way. It'll just bleed all that direction. And there is a lot of detail in something like this, and it's not dimension, it's more about overlapping. So that's how you get your dimension, something like this. You're overlapping. It's not a long distance dimension, it's a short distance, but you can still get dimension. And so you do that with more or less with overlapping, and not so much with like colors this time. Like, you know, in a landscape, you get the background being gray and blues and stuff, where here It's more about overlapping and contrast. Like when you have the contrast here at this door, I'm not sure what this is there on the side. Maybe it's a mailbox thing. Maybe I'll just make that a little bit different color. Boy, I haven't used any purple already today. What's going on? Boy, I always use purple. I haven't used hardly any purple today. Oh man, I have withdrawals. No purple. Hey Lillian. Oh, I'm glad you found it. I'm hoping everybody else had found it from my normally what I put down there, and that's gone now. And so then everybody who actually had it posted, it's not even there anymore. That video. So I'll have to put it out on Facebook tomorrow and explain again. Boy, I'm getting really tired of that. It's been happening way too much, and so hopefully I get into my studio really quick. I've got it wired up and almost got it cleaned out, but it's just a lot of work to getting a studio together. It's my home studio, and it's a little bit different from what I had. All right, so now we're gonna go to the door. There's a windows in the door and a door here, and it looks like it's not dry enough. So I'm gonna go in here, go pretty dark right over it, and I will put. I'll leave some parts red, like you can see through there again, and I will float some other colors in there too. Actually, on top it wasn't quite all the way dry, but that's okay. And this is going to be the door window, and so what I want to do is I want to make it definitely really dark, but then I want to throw some of the turquoise color into that so that it reflects, because it's glass, and so it'll definitely reflect maybe on the bottom here a little bit. Just reflect a little bit of the light blue even and stuff, and just put it down there just so it looks like it's reflecting in there. If you can see that again, closer up, see how it's all wet, and I just put a little bit of this blue in there. Just kind of pour it in there, and just gives it that look like you're seeing through, but then there's also a couple little reflections in there too. Again, I'll start out with the, it's not dry, but oh well, who cares? Let's go in there and give me a soft edge too. Just go real thick. When you go thicker, it doesn't bleed as much. So if you got something that's wet, don't be afraid of getting thicker with your paint, because it won't bleed as far. And if you've been watching me, you know that's very true that I work a lot with, when I'm working in wet areas, I work with a lot of pigment. That's how come you have to, in your palette, you need to have fresh pigment so you can do that. You can't have a tint of color to stop the water from running all over the place. You need a nice amount of pigment. So there's something really nice and dark. Again, I'm going to take a little bit of blue, just drip it in there, float it in there. Floating it just helps it to make it look more watercolor-like and give it a nice look. It's a nice wash when you have a float your pigment. That's the way watercolor works. Oh, don't ever leave your brush in the water like that. Don't ever do that with your brush. Don't leave it in the water, because the water, it seeps into the barrel right here, into this barrel, and then little by little it'll take the paint off of there, because it's filling up with water. So now I'm going to do this little line on the center of the door, and I break it up a little bit, because again, it's not so perfect. I want to give it a little bit of difference, because everything's not so perfect on this picture. You want to give it a little bit of roughness to it. It makes it look looser too. It makes it give it a bit looser look. Here I'll go with a little bit darker red. I'll use the same red I use, but just over again, and that way I can get the little panel in here. There's a panel. Over here there's a panel too. And I have little droplets. I'm not sure how they get the little droplets in there. Now in the picture, they have like a kick plate. So let's put a kick plate in there. I'll take my bigger brush and I'll make it a little bit yellow, so it's a little bit different. And I'll put a little kick plate on there, just something different. And it doesn't have to be so obvious. It's just a little bit different down there, so just make it a little different. And that'll be the kick plate of the door. Here now I'm just gonna maybe I'll make these geraniums. Those are red, right? Geraniums. I think that's a red flower. I'm just gonna put little dots and shaking. Look how nervous I am. shaking and making these little red things here. And I put in the flowers first, and then I'll put in the stems. I know there's not one in the picture, but I just felt like it needed one, and it's just my choice. You don't have to put it in there if you don't want. I feel like I did a little bit less, worked a lot, not so much stuff in the picture, then just don't put it in. I just thought it'd be kind of neat just to put it in there, give it a little interest. Because I want my eye. Here, I put little shadows in the background from the pot against the back wall. So it looks like there's shadows. Here's a shadow. Looks like there's no door handles on this door. Oh, they're right in the middle, like right here. Okay, there's a door handle. Then we've got the hinges. That's like a little detail. Hinges. There's a hinge. There's a hinge. Dark. You can make it fancier if you want. You can make it a fancy hinge too. They have a lot of times they have the fancy hinges on those doors. I will make this look more wood-like and put little lines going down it. Same thing up here. I'll put little lines. Gotta put the hinges up there too. These are called shaky hinges. I just put them in there while I'm shaking. So here we go. Now let's get this red stripes on this hole in front here. Get that red somewhere else. So I'm just going to put there's not many of these poles now anymore. I think they used to be like in Venice, and they used to have all the beds with a little red on them. Usually they're just one color, or they're just a big, actually a stick in the water. I did a workshop there, I don't know, about 7 years ago now, I think. So there's a little bit more of that red. Here we'll give a fake number to this home. I think that's what that would be, and then a little bit of a different color on the side of the little texture there. When you go across something quickly, you can give it texture by going across quickly. And you notice I put the sidewalk in, I put in little lines. And now let's put a little bit of greenery, but I'm going to do a more turquoise greenery because I want this to be match. I don't want to match anything. You just can't do that. You got to stick with the colors that you got around to make it look all so it all works together well. Comes together real nice. And a little shadow there. Here, put a little bit of color in here, a little bit darker. Maybe actually make a real dark line so separate it from the background. So that's in front. And now I think the final thing will be to do my clothing. Here, a little bit of detail in there. Make the clothing a little bit more detailed because it's, I've got the bottom here done now. Door looks pretty good. Let's get our little box here. All right, clothing time. So the clothing hanging there, it looks nice, but I wanted to look just a little bit more details. I don't want to put so much detail in that I also want to make the shadowing a little bit darker, right where it's closer to the shirts and the pants are on the clothing. So a little bit closer. I'm just going to get a little bit darker. How much time do we have? 5 minutes. But again, we started late again. Gosh, it just bugs the heck out of me. Again, sorry to anybody that came in late. It will be on there for you to watch later. But I like to have it so that you guys can watch it while I'm actually doing it. Hopefully when I get in my new studio and I have it all worked out, I'm going to have this all figured out. Especially when I have my Zoom classes. I'm coming up and doing some Zoom classes coming up in January. I still have to get everything kind of figured out. I am going to probably do a beginner's one, a total beginner one, where for beginners who have never even used watercolor, and then more of an advanced, not advanced, but more like this type of thing. where we're painting together, and we'll do a paint along, almost like a class type of thing. And I'll be watching you, and I'll be giving you an idea of how well you should be setting up your camera when we do these Zoom things, so that I can not just see your face, but I'd rather see your painting. Not that I don't want to see you guys live, but it's more important that I see you paint and watch you paint when I'm on the Zoom meetings and classes. I've had a couple Zoom things done already, and I found that the one class I did, again, we have to work on the camera work so that people have their camera on their painting when they're painting. All right, so see how it gives it a little bit more contrast. Actually, I almost think now it's too much, so I'm gonna go in here and just soften some of these edges. Just putting water and softening some of it. I got a little bit too hard edged on some of this, and almost a little bit too dark. So that means I gotta go down here and make these things a little bit darker. I don't want this to be the center of focus. Now this is going to be a little stripe thing, just to give it a little bit different look. Yeah, let's see, what else can we put in there? Let's say some stripes going up and down, maybe. Maybe this can be some, or a checkerboard, or, okay, we got that. Maybe this has a big stripe going across it somehow. Maybe that has just a little bit of shadowing on it. All right, I think that's pretty much going to be it. And to get a little bit more look, let me look up in this. Also, a lot of times when you're working on something, put it away every once in a while. Take it from a distance. Look at it from a distance. Actually, I kind of like this little light blue I've got there. It almost looks like you're seeing something inside there again. Anytime you're doing a window like dark, if you put a little light like that in there, it kind of makes it look like you're seeing in and seeing stuff way inside there. Just like I did the window in here. You know, it's just sort of like it's way back there. And that's always a little fun thing to do when you're doing something that doesn't have much dimension. This picture does not have much dimension. I'm going to show you also how to scrape things out too, because I noticed that I really don't like this little blossom here that I got. And so if you get a blossom and you don't like it, take just clear water, and then just depending on the paper you use, a lot of times my paper, the Stonehenge Aqua, I can just rub like this and I totally get rid of it completely. See, I can just get rid of it. And it doesn't take much. You just have to go lightly, but then make sure you have everything the same wetness, and then just let it just dry by itself like that. And make sure your water is pretty clean, because you don't want, I mean, my water's not that clean, but because it's giving it a little bit of a warmth to it, but that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. And I'm gonna do this a little bit over here. Just want to make it so that some of the shadow is even soft and some of the shadowing is a little bit harder edged. And that's something I got a little bit too dark on some of it, but I think we're good. All right, again, sorry that some of you may have not seen it in the beginning. But you go back, it'll be up there. And I'll have to put in the same kind of type, because I had to go really fast in putting in a title, because it was one of those things. So let me take the tape off, and you can see it from what it's supposed to look like. Clean up my brushes real quick. If you have any questions, also ever have questions, if you ever have questions, just put them down in the comments section of the video, or email me on Facebook, or on my website. Email me, message me on Facebook, or just post your picture on Facebook and ask a question. I love seeing your work that you're doing. Thanks for posting them on Facebook. And boy, this tape is not coming off. Wow. Okay, here we go. So, put up closer. I used some older tape today because I couldn't find my soft tape. I'm still not in my studio yet, so it's I'm always looking around for stuff. Everything's in boxes still. Come January, though, boy, we're going to be having some fun. So here we go. Let's see what it looks like. Ugh. Holy smokes. This tape is like, like gorilla tape. Oh my gosh. Oh, come on. It's just regular masking tape. I don't know. Is it elder or something? Because it won't come off. Wow. Here we go. Didn't pull the tape off though, so that's good. So again, we will see you next. Let's see. Thanks. When is Christmas? I have to look. Well, today is the 17th. Next week is the 24th, Thursday. We're not going to have anything on Thursday. We'll have to do it on Wednesday. Christmas Eve. We don't want anybody on Christmas Eve. I know you're going to be wrapping presents, everybody. So next Thursday, we're going to not do the paint along. We're going to do it on Wednesday. We'll go for Wednesday. And I know you'll probably still have to wrap presents then too, but not on the 24th. So we'll do it on Wednesday, next Wednesday. So I will see you. Hold on. So I will see you guys next Wednesday. We'll do it next Wednesday, and I think it's going to be something to do with Christmas or holidays. I think maybe even a still life. We haven't done a still life, and I just posted today my still life on my website for a paint along, or not paint along, for the daily painting that I put up there. So I got a feeling it's going to be something like that. We're going to do that, and so cheers, everybody. Happy holidays. If you don't come back on next Wednesday, have a happy holidays, and we'll see you